Hey, hi everyone. Yesterday, audio was a little bit off, so I'll quickly check audio is good today so that we can proceed further. Live. Yes, it's good. Uh, yep, let me open chat. Okay. Yep. What's up, everyone? So, first of all, happy Independence Day to all my Indian friends, and welcome everyone. So far in the previous part or previous stream, we have achieved how to set up this Docker environment for development purposes, right? And today in this stream, I'm going to focus on, or I'm going to walk you through how we can set up the production environment for our React app. So yes, let's quickly get back to the project. So I'll open my terminal, go full size, go to Docker React project, which we created yesterday. And I've committed whatever we had yesterday with this commit. Okay. So we don't lose any changes. So we'll start from where we left off, right? So first of all, there are few differences between the development environment and production environment. I want you to understand that first, and then we will go through what are the changes needed for this setup, right? So I've created some diagrams on my Miro board. Let me show you that quickly. So right now, whenever we do any development, right? So this is our browser, right? The browser sends the request to Docker container. This is our Docker container, and here, while we are doing the development, there we have this React development server, right? And which actually sends all these HTML files and CSS, JavaScript, all this stuff, right? So whenever we do any changes on the source code, it compiles all the changes. It creates this. Hey, hi. I hope that audio and everything is good, right? Let me know if anything is a little bit off. So I was just starting to discuss about this development environment, how actually it works, right? So from the browser, we send the request to React development server. Then the React development server actually does all this compilation on this stuff of these React components, and it creates the HTML, CSS, all these assets, right? And all these assets are actually served back. Hey, hi Mukesh, how are you? Yes, it's good. Okay, fine. Yeah, thanks for letting me know. So, so far you guys with me, right? You understood like how the development server works. So we send the request from the browser. This browser request gets sent to the Docker container. Docker container passes it to the React development server, and that React development server sends all this HTML, CSS, JavaScript files, and then that same thing is returned to the browser. That's why we have two errors, right? This actually happens in development while we are doing the development. But when we have completed all the development, right? At that moment, we will not have these HTML JavaScript files, right? And we will not even have this React development server. So what we can do, and like for example, if you want to use this development server, it can just handle thousands of requests, and then it will just break, right? So we need some production ready development server, right? That we can use in actual production, and it can serve millions of requests quite fastly, right? So for that, we need to understand uh, how React creates those assets, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, all this stuff, right? So if you already know, then whenever we run npm run build, right? So what happens is it generates all these static assets inside this build directory /build, right? And to show you that, let me show you this. We are in this Docker React project, right? Yesterday we created it, and let me know if that font size is good. Okay, yesterday it was small, so let me know if I can increase that. Okay, so now we are in this React project. If I do npm run build quickly, so it will create all these assets inside the build directory, right? Let it finish. So you can see here creating an optimized production build, right? Optimized production build for the React. And here you can see that we can just serve it using this serve module as well, but that we are not going to focus on. We will actually use the server development, this production ready server that can serve millions of requests, right? So if I show you that directories again, so you can see here we have this build directory. If I go inside build directory and show you the tree log, so you can see it creates a bunch of files, right? Some CSS file, JS files, media files. Please make it big. Okay, sure. So let me know if this is good, or I can increase a little bit more. Yeah. So then we have these assets created, right? And we actually want these files in the production, right? We don't want that source folder. If I go back and show you all the directories, we don't want node modules and all these files, right? In the production, we only want the build directory, right? So what we will do is, once, let me open this Miro board again. Once we generate this all the static assets, we will find a good server, and we will serve those static assets using that server, right? That build directory, and then it should be good to go, right? So how we can do that? So how it will work actually? So in production, it will work like this, right? We have the browser, right? This, remember yesterday I told you, left is whatever we have, right is whatever Docker has, right? So this 8080 port, you can just use any port. I've used 8080 for now, just for the demonstration purpose. And this port 8180 is actually Nginx default port. And you can obviously see here we are going to use Nginx server, right? Nginx is quite fast, quite it's like you can use Apache and all these different servers as well, but people mostly use Nginx, and it is quite good. So that's why we'll use that same thing, right? And this HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, all this stuff will be actually the assets, build directory assets, right? So this is how our things should be in the production, right? So we quickly understood what are all things needed in the production. We only need that build directory actually, right? We only need that directory, and we need Nginx server, and we need to serve that build directory inside this using that Nginx server, and that's it. So our application should be good to go, right? So let's go back to our project. Let me close this. Let's go to our project. And before creating this different environments, what we'll do is we will refactor this code a little bit, right? This setup first, so that we will have a better structure, and we will have a better things to like modify and quickly accessible, all this stuff, right? So right now, if you know already from the previous screen, we have this Docker compose file, we have this Docker file, right? And we can simply do Docker compose up -d, right? Which will create this server. Oh, I don't have Docker running. Let me run the Docker first. Okay. So Docker is actually running. Let's close this Miro completely. Okay, this Docker started. Now we can do docker compose up -d, right? And let's give build tag as well, build flag as well, so that it will create image if that image is not there. Before some testing yesterday, I removed all these images and all this stuff, so that's why I'm adding the build flag. So it created the build, it created this image, and it created this container. So right, so if I do docker ps, right, you can see here this container is this image is created, docker react app. We have this container. This container is forwarding 4000 to 3000, and it created just 11 seconds ago. So let's go to browser quickly and let's go to 4000 pro, and you can see our project is up and running, right? So after refactoring, it should be the same thing, right? So what we'll do is, first of all, we'll remove this. Let me copy this container ID and -f to close it. And if I do dps, it's just a shortcut for docker ps, alias dps. I'll be using all these shortcuts now, so that you guys should also use shortcuts, right? So less keystrokes is good. So docker ps, so dps means docker ps, and we don't have anything running there. And even I can just pass -a flag, and then it's nothing there, right? So now we want to move these things. So let's imagine we have this docker folder here. Let's renew everything. Okay, so now means just git reset everything, so we don't have any changes there, right? That's why. So what we will do is we'll create a docker directory, right? So let's make a docker directory docker because usually, like, whatever we think that files are based out of configuration, so then we can just put it in .configuration files. So that's why docker, right? And then we'll go inside this docker folder, and let's quickly create two directories. Let's call it staging and production, right? Now once we have these directories, right, let's move our both the files. Let's move our docker file, right, to docker/staging, because it belongs to staging, right? Docker file. And let's move our docker compose file to docker/staging docker compose.ynl YAML, right? So you can see here, if I go inside this docker directory and show you the tree structure, so you can see here in the staging folder we have these two files, right? So now, because we have moved all these files, right, so whenever we do docker compose on this so whenever we do docker compose, and for the docker compose up, I have shortcut DCU, that means docker compose up. And if I do it right now, so sure enough, it will not find that docker compose file, because we have moved it, right? So that file is not there. So then in that case, we need to pass new flag, right? So I can do docker compose -f for file, and then I can just tell docker that where to look for files, right? So let's go to docker compose file, and then do up, and then put enter, right? Click enter. So now what it will do is it will try to create the image, all this network and all this basic stuff which we yesterday checked. But now you can see here it failed. It failed while copying this package.log files, and the error is these files are not found, right? So let's go to docker compose file, right? And here you can see that build context here. Build context for this is current directory, right? So now we need to modify a few things. So let's do this way. Let's pass this context. So every time we want to pass the context, we will be starting from the root directory of the project. So that's why we are just setting up two directories back, right? Now, whenever you're looking for any file, so Docker file, so we need to add a key there, Docker file, and where should we check that file? So because this context is starting from the root directory, that's why we need to pass Docker slash staging slash this Docker compose file. Sorry, Docker file like this, right? I hope you understood this, right? So this context, we set the context to the root directory, and we want to say that which file to look, right? Which file to look for. So this file will be actually from the .docker folder, then slash staging slash Docker file, right? Then, okay, let's see what error we get first, and then I'll show you that next thing. So if I do Docker stage this one, so this is the same command, right? Now let's try to run it. All right. Now it says it created all these images, it copied everything, it ran the npm install, it copied all these folders because it could find everything, right, from the directory structure. So now it failed because it searched this code. Yeah. So this code directory, right? Code slash source. This is it can't find that, right? And it can't find that because if we go to our Docker compose file again, you can say this volume actually is still mounting to the like slash source directory, but here we are doing a relative path. But since we are inside this docker slash staging slash this folder, right? Docker slash staging. So it is trying to find that source folder there, which is not correct. So because we already know our context is the root folder, so then I can simply do source here, right? So it will try to find that source folder inside this root directory. Actually it will give error, but I'll try to show you everything, right? So what are all errors we get? So what I'm doing, okay, so if I run it now, so now we can see sure enough that this it can't find, right, for this, but no declaration was found for this section, right? Ironically, for the volumes we have to give the path from this Docker file, where this Docker file is. So that's why what we have to do is we have to again go back to two directories, right? And then we have to use this path, and that way it will find the source folder properly. So let's go and run that again, right? And now this time things should be good, in a good shape. So as you can see, it started the server on localhost 3000, which is the Docker port, right? And if you know already, let's open this Docker compose file. Here on line, on this line, we have set this localhost 4000 port, right? So let's go to the browser. Let's try to refresh this page. It's working. Yeah. Now let's go and update app.js, and let's do the same thing, Docker plus React, something like that. And if we go and refresh here, so you can see here this things are updated on the browser as well. So this is our development workflow, right? And this, until this point, we have checked everything yesterday itself, right? So we quickly did some optimizations, or like some refactoring of the, or file management, we can say refactoring of the file management. Okay. So now, as you know from the Miro board, we need to run npm run build, right? So what we will do is we'll copy this Docker file Docker staging file, Docker file to .docker/production. Okay, this file is not there, so let's open it, right? Let's create a file, right, inside this .docker folder /production/docker file, right? And let's copy stage docker file, all this content from the prod staging .docker/production docker file, right, and paste it here. Now we're going to check a really interesting thing, right? So it's called as multi-stage builds, right? So for now, we have this same exactly copied whatever we've had from this Docker environment, right? So we take the latest node from this Docker Hub repository. We created this working directory. We copied that package.json, package lock and package.json file. We ran this npm run command. Then we copied all the source code. Then we set this environment. And after that, we don't want to run npm run start, right? Because we are not doing any development. We want to run actually, right? We want to create something on the runtime when the build is created, right? So that's why run command, and then we will do npm run build this time, right? Now we know that this when we run this npm run build command, it will what it will do is it will create the build directory, right? And inside that directory, it will put all the static files, right? That we know. Now here comes this interesting part. So what we need to do is we need to take this nginx server. We need to take this from this stage build directory. We copy all the files and we put it inside this nginx directory where it should be served from, right? So let's quickly go to hub.docker.com to find nginx image, official image, like we did yesterday, right? So let's for nginx, and the first one should be the official one. So here it is. This is the official image, right? And we can just pull it from using nginx. Here also we have a lot of tags. We'll not focus on that. The stable tag looks good, so we can use stable. So and also you can see here how we can use this image, right? So here you can see hosting a simple static content. We will have static content, right? We can use this like this, or alternatively we can create a docker file and we can put all this stuff here like this, right? So you can see here we are taking the nginx, right, from this docker up. We are copying all these static html files, static html directory inside this directory, and things should be fine, right? So then you can just hit this support 8080 on our local machine. We are doing the same thing, right? If we want to port this way, but the thing is we will not do using the docker run command. We will use the docker compose for this. So let's copy this quickly and then we'll paste it here, right? Now we want to copy whatever inside this build directory, right? So here comes this multi-stage build part, right? It might sound scary, but it is not. So whenever in the docker file we have this from statement, so here we have these two from statements. That means it's multi-stage build. It has two stages, right? So what we will do is we will name this stage, this first stage, as something. So let's call it build, right? And what we will do is, now if I remove this, whenever this build stage is completed, right? So we want to copy from this build stage, right? This from flag, what it will do is it will take the previous stage and we can copy things from there, right? And even you can just use any what will you say, any official image as well. So for example, if you go to this hub.docker.com and search for any package, and for example in this nginx image I want to copy some file from this nginx image, right? So instead of build I can just type nginx, and if I know what directory structure that file resides in, so I can just add those directory structure, right? Directory, or instead of directory structure, let's call it path, this path, and then we'll set it, we'll copy it wherever we want, right? So that way also we can do. And now because we cannot use node, right? So it will go to docker hub and it will take things from there. So we don't want that. That's why we are just renaming it or aliasing it, right, as a build. So let's call it, let's copy from build, and we know that inside this code directory we will have this build directory, right? Because of this command we will have this build directory, and this build directory we will copy to this folder. And I think that's it for this production Docker file, right? So once we put all those files there, then we only need to do is we just need to run port some, like we need to just do some port forwarding, and then nginx will automatically serve all these assets, right? So for that, because we're using Docker compose file, so let's go to, I think I don't have that Docker compose file, so let's create one. Before creating one, so let's go to Docker staging and Docker compose file. I'll just copy most of the stuff and I'll modify those things. Let's create one Docker / production Docker -compose.yml file, paste all these things here. Maybe for this service, let's call it production, right? Or what we'll do is, let's open this s docker compose file here. Let's rename it as stage, right? Something like this. Then this context will be same. Instead of Docker staging file, we'll use production file here. On the left side we have production, on the right side we have staging. So we obviously want to forward this ports. So inside container we have this 80 port for the nginx, and here I can use any port. Let's use 8080, right? Or maybe if you have multiple services, we can use different ports for all these images. In production, sure enough, we don't want these volumes, and environments also I don't think so we need those, or let's keep it for, let's call it stage, right? Something like that, so we can demonstrate those things as well, right? Let's save it, right? Let's close everything. Let's search, let's stage everything, GST GAA, that you know already, right? Now let's run that same command. For this time we want to do it for production, right? So you can see here it's trying to build this React app production. It's taking this pool of this latest nginx and node image, and it failed. Okay, and it failed because nginx latest metadata failed to resolve the Docker file. Let's go to production Docker file. We have this code directory here, things are good, right? Let's go to production Docker compose file. Docker compose file, here things are also good. Let's do dps, nothing is there, dps-a. Okay, there is some staging environment going on, so let's copy this Docker Compose is a little bit dumb, right? So it if it finds these images, then it will just use those images instead of just creating new. So let's do Docker rm, pass this container ID and put f flag -f flag, and this time let's do build as well. Let's see. So you can see it started downloading all these files. It's doing run npm run build as well, and you can see here creating an optimized build for this Docker container. And I think we didn't pass -d flag, so it's still running in the without detached mode. So you can see here it's running. So let's go to the browser and let's search localhost, and we used 8084, right? So if we see, you can see here we are running our production build, right? And it is way faster because it's using Nginx, right? So those static assets will be served quite fastly here. And if we go to our 4000, it's not working because obviously this container is not working. Now let's check, because I didn't run it in the detached mode. Let's create a new tab and let's try to modify app.js, and let's try to add hello YouTube, right? Something like this. And let's try to refresh this page. It should not update actually. So you can see here, it's not updating, right? And this is how you can serve your production builds in the Docker environment, right? So let me close this server. And for this Docker compose down, I have dcd alias, right? So it will do Docker compose down. It cannot find the file, obviously. So for that, we need to do it this way. We don't need this. What? Docker compose. We don't want this build flag. We just want to make it down. Right now, this is good. This is fine right now. So if I show you what things we changed, right? So we removed all these Docker files from the root directory. We moved it inside this Docker directory. If I go inside this Docker directory .docker and show you the tree structure, you can see here for the staging we have this these files, right? And this actually source folder is from that. I remember I didn't change that volume, and then it failed, and then I showed you what error was. So it is actually from that command. So let's remove this staging source, right? It's a directory. So let's put a -rf flag. And if I do it now, so you can see here we have this structure. This is correct one, right? So for the staging we have this directory, and for the production we have this directory, and maybe for QA and all these different stages we can use the same kind of concept, right? But now remember, like now imagine, okay, so for the QA we have separate environment, right? And that needs most of the settings will be like for the like whatever we have for staging, right? It will be kind of same, right? Or like it will take some of the settings from the production, right? We are setting it from the production, and then we will try to test all this behavior by the QAs, right? And most of the settings will be same only. So what we can do is, in that case, we can have multiple Docker files. So let me first commit this quickly. Okay, I don't want to commit this app.js file. Let's discard this and let's commit this production build and stage. Okay. Now what we can do is we can have multiple Docker files, Docker compose files. So I can create new file, docker-compose.yml, right? And then inside this Docker compose file, let's go to Docker compose file, and here we can have all these settings, right? Like for example, like this. like this, and then like you can imagine like a lot of common configurations. Here we have only one service, so I cannot demonstrate anything here, which will be fruitful. But the thing is, in real world, you will have a lot of services going, a lot of services connecting to each other. For maybe it's a backend, maybe because it's a front end, right? Maybe it will be a backend server is there, and from that backend server, it is trying to connect with the Docker database. It will have Postgres or MySQL, any database, and it will try to connect there. It may have caching layer where we will use Memcache or Redis, right? There could be multiple services, and most of the settings can be same, right? So in that case, what we can do is we can create a Docker compose file at the root level, right? And then instead of running Docker compose -f, we will first pass this Docker compose file, whatever we have right now in the root directory. This will be our default configuration, right? And after that, we'll pass another -f flag, and then we can pass this Docker hyphen, let's say stage, or let's say staging only, staging, and then we have this Docker compose file, right? And then do up. So order here really matters. What do I mean by order? So first we are passing this file, right? So whatever configuration this file has, it will be used. After that, we are passing the another file, which is this one. So whatever things are common there, it will override those settings, right? This file, this configuration will override this configuration, and then it will try to create this container and all this stuff, right? So this is how you can set up this Docker environment for different builds. So I think this is everything for right now. If you have any questions, please let me know. We can answer those questions. And this is what I wanted to showcase in this stream. This 2-part series is actually focused for the people who want to do something in the production place, who want to build something, and that's something they want to pass it to the production level, right? So it will actually help. And if you guys are interested, so please like this video, right? Like this videos. And if I reach this 50 likes for this both the videos, so what I'll do is I'll consider that you want to see me doing how we can deploy all these containers on the AWS, right? So I'll try to demonstrate that as well, but only if like you guys want me to do, right? Because my agenda was this only, to demonstrate how we can just produce or set up the workflow for the staging and the production, right? So 50 likes for both videos, and I'll demonstrate how we can deploy this on AWS. So if we don't have any questions, bye for now. See you in the next one.